Hello friends, and welcome to another long play format video. Today we're going to talk about House Bill 1689 and House Bill 934. These are two bills no one's talking about in Virginia. One aims to give teeth to the constitutional and sanctuary city movement, and the other one, House Bill 1689, aims to put a wall around the Second Amendment in Virginia and keep people from messing with it. Sounds like a pretty good deal. I think you're going to enjoy this. Let's talk about this title picture right here. Danger, Democratic Tyranny in Progress. That's what's going on in Virginia, and it is sweeping the nation with anti-Second Amendment and anti-Constitution bills. Much like Missouri has done, these bills aim to protect the Constitution here in Virginia, which is why they're on the table. I know you don't like the idea of them being on the table. The Second Amendment shouldn't require any protections other than itself, but in this political climate, we definitely need something, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Jumping into it, we want to talk about this post right here, House Bill 1689 post. I just posted a day ago, a little bit over 28 hours ago, letting people know about what's going on. It's reached 20,000 people and had 2,600 engagements and 151 shares. Of course, you can find all this information over on Va2A News. We've got all of it right here. This is a long play format video, but you've seen the news segment videos. If you like what we're doing, go ahead over here, click that support button, and give whatever your heart desires. I'd appreciate it. But the easiest way to help out the channel is just to like the videos, watch them through completion, and share them. Here's some things published December 26th. This is an opinion piece. Walter Williams' gun rights endangered in Virginia. Yeah, and this is the Culpeper sheriff that said, hey, he's going to deputize any citizen that it can legally own a gun. If they can legally own one, he'll deputize them so that they can avoid these anti-gun regulations coming down. This was definitely the time this video or this information was going viral, happened to be when Senate Bill 16 was on the table. Senate Bill 16 is now off the table. Senate Bill 961 has replaced it. And as a quick aside, jumping into the conversation that we're going to talk about with House Bill 934 and House Bill 1689, Senate Bill 961 does do a couple things for us. Now, they're not great things, but I'll tell you real quick. The first thing it does is it makes it legal for you to own and possess, transport, and use at a gun range and hunt with an assault firearm. It requires you to register in order to get a permit, similar to the permitting process of the CHP, except you have to detail your firearm. It's going to cost $50, and the one thing that you cannot do with your rifle, the only thing that's disallowed with the rifle, is gathering in a public area for the purposes of protesting with it. Senate Bill 64, which is the paramilitary bill, is still on the table as well, and we'll have more information about that in an upcoming video. For those of you that don't know, I actually made a video about House Bill 1689. It was a news segment video that just talked about the bill in about 6 minutes. This is where the discussion takes place. So this is a sheriff that said, hey, we're not going to have any of that. We're going to stand up for the Second Amendment. Good on you there. Trump, just the other day, just January 20th, the day that we were having the Second Amendment VCDL lobby day in Virginia, where over 22 to 30,000 people, depending on where you get your information, showed up in support. He says, hey, your constitutional rights are under attack. The Second Amendment is under attack. People gave the commander-in-chief a bunch of crap for that. Hey, the reality is he's telling us like it is. Right now, the Second Amendment is under attack in Virginia, which is why we need something to protect it. We need a movement that can help protect it more than just what we've got. We need some additional laws, in my opinion, and I hope that I can help share that. Demonstrators urge Nelson County leaders to pass pro-Second Amendment bill. Hey, this was on January 18th, 2020. That was just before the Second Amendment rally and the VCDL lobby day. We're still having counties being urged to come on board. We've got something like 98%, or maybe it's 95 point something percent. I did the math here on another tab. We'll get to it. But out of all the localities, there's 133 localities between cities, towns, counties in Virginia, and something like 126 have already signed on board for Second Amendment sanctuary cities or constitutional cities, depending on the wording of the resolution. The problem is the Attorney General said that they don't have any teeth. The resolutions are no good. Interestingly enough, House Bill 934 will change that if it goes through. Now, before we jump in on the next topic, I want you to know that House Bill 1689 and House Bill 934 are two bills which were introduced late in the session, just before the cutoff date of around the 20th, which means they're not getting a lot of talk. Now, I've emailed the VCDL, I've talked to members on the VCDL, I've left phone calls, I've sent messages to people with the GOA and everything. We need light on this, because the one thing we have right now, guys, this is what I'm trying to share with you. Our advantage currently with these bills is time. On every other bill that's come through, what has happened is we have been behind the 8 ball. We've been behind in the reaction. We've been reacting. With these two bills, although unlikely to pass, they're guaranteed to fail if they have no action. If we do action to this, we might actually be able to stand a chance to get them passed in the committee and brought to the floor for a vote. At the very least, the purpose is to shine a light on the Democrats that refuse to stand up for the Constitution. Right now, they get to, if we don't do anything, they get to fail these bills in secrecy, which means they don't ever have to bear the responsibility of their actions. And here we go. I want to address something jumping into it. VCU, the poll that Moms Demand Action, that says that everybody in Virginia wanted gun control. This is the poll that they showed over to the legislators in order to help get people elected. This one was actually an updated poll that took place during December of 2019 in order to help the legislators feel good about proposing these anti-gun bills. The first few pages and everything that you're going to read here, I wouldn't read it. It's all the stuff you've already heard that makes you have, like, what? Really? 59% of Virginians think that we should have red flag orders? Really? 60% of us think that? Most people want more gun control. 79% of people want more gun control in Virginia. Really? You don't want to read their conclusions. You want to look at the data. And then the first place to look at that is actually to come over here to their methodology. And if you read this right here, they only asked 818 adults out of Virginia. 8.5 million. Guys, I think that's 1/10,000%. 8 million, 818, 800 divided by 8 million is something like 1.0001 percentage point. Wow, that's great. We didn't get a standard deviation with this poll. We didn't get to find out what would be exemplary in a remark. And here's an important reason that to show that. I just want to kind of bring this up. Is this the fun one? When we talk about whether or not Virginians, this is the poll they want to put out there mostly. When we talk about whether or not Virginians want more stricter gun laws or want less strict gun laws or think it's fine, you can actually see that here we've got some remarkable results, which is why that standard deviation is important. Generally, a group of statistics will have a bell curve. You'll have somewhere in the middle, and then standard deviations, which is like 12.5% on either side of the mean, where you'll consider your response to be normal. When you start getting more than one standard deviation outside, like 2, 3, and 4, you start entering remarkable results. 87% of all Democrats, which were 222 out of the 800 people polled, want stricter gun laws. 65% of the people that make more than 100 grand. As far as it goes, what about this? 74% of minorities. And how come out of all these categories, it's just white against everybody else? What I'm trying to point out here is, as you look through this, out of the total of 818 cases, Northern Virginia made up 255 cases, which is 31% of that number, or rounded up. Then the Northwest Virginia, where the mountains are, where people are definitely affected by hunting and self-defense with firearms, you're somewhere close to 12 or 13% of the people. Tidewater got a boost up to close to 19%. And then South Central was a little bit closer to like 18%. Western Virginia, you could see that it was up there around the Tidewater area. They stacked this entire random poll against us and put the most liberal people the best questions that suited their needs. And that's what the standard deviation would tell us. That's why when we see anything above 50% in a consecutive category, we can say, those results seem to be remarkable. Let's look at them. If we had the bell curve and the plot, we'd be able to see that there, and that would tell anybody that's a researcher worth their weight in salt, that would tell them that you've got some anomalies in your data, but they didn't give that to us. That's why you can't take this report for anything other than just the paper that it's printed on. It's trash. If you needed a reason to believe the report was trash, just look around. Keep Va2A has a great list right here of all the cities and counties and independent towns and such like that that have voted to make a sanctuary city. Yeah, you're right. The people that you're looking right there in the green, they have all voted to make Virginia, their county, a sanctuary city. That means that the people in this county voted, they came, they showed up, they wanted this, they urged their board of supervisors and their city council to make the city a Second Amendment sanctuary. We only have a couple cities, towns, and other localities that haven't. Of course, here we've got 126 counties represented, or localities, out of a total 133. I just find that to be very interesting, that we could then see that poll from VCU, the poll that Moms Demand Action paid for, and not actually see any of this represented. It's been a huge movement. This is called cognitive dissonance. If you don't recognize what's going on here, they're telling you in that poll lies. The data may be properly acquired, but the conclusions have to be wrong for most of it, because we see what's actually going on here. We see that with the voice of the people. We see that with Lobby Day. Anyways, let's get into House Bill 1689. Real quick, I just want to show you what this does. This limits the ability for people to manipulate the Constitution and the Second Amendment, Article 1, Section 13 of Virginia. This puts a wall around it, and it's necessary because people are using fake facts and stuff like that, or at least facts that have been twisted in order to pass bills and make people follow their side. Here we have a couple of things. Any law of the Commonwealth that infringes on our citizens' right to keep and bear arms is unlawful, void. Now, some of you might say we don't need it because of Marbury versus Madison. Here's the problem. We live in a state that has already had the Fourth Circuit Court, which is a federal court, rule on a similar case, and so we have existing precedents. Those of you that don't like legal stuff and just think you want to go out there and boogaloo, well, I can't help you, man. Stop eating rocks and listen for a second. For those of you that only think it takes a legal side to win and in the courts, start hanging out with some of your rock eating friends, because you might need some of those skills. We need to meet in the middle with this. So please pay attention to what I'm telling you on both sides. The Fourth Circuit has already ruled with the Maryland assault weapons ban that it is constitutional, and the Supreme Court has not slapped them down. That's where our problem is, and that's why we need protection for the Second Amendment in this particular political climate. If the Supreme Court had already ruled and smacked the Fourth Circuit in their decision about the assault weapons ban in Maryland, when like the NRA and the GOA sued them, then we would be fine. One of the things that the Fourth Circuit upheld was that Marbury versus Madison, which is the repugnant clause of the that says that laws that are contrary to the Constitution are repugnant and don't need to be followed. The court already addressed that and said, yes, they do need to be followed, because this is not a taking. We're not taking away your right. We're just restricting which kind of firearm you can use. And that's not a violation of the Constitution. In a nutshell, that's what they said. That's why this bill is important. And if you're eating rocks and not listening, then you'll miss that important part of the conversation, and you won't have the intellectual fortitude in order to stand up with the guys that are arguing against it. We need it for that reason. We shouldn't require it. I completely agree, but we need it. And here's the deal. If any of these following things take place, this bill aims to make it completely illegal. If they impose any tax, fee, or stamp on ammunition or firearms, if they require the registration of any firearm in order to execute your right, that's what we're talking about. If they require any person to register as an owner of a firearm or ammunition, if they prohibit any person from possessing or using a firearm that would normally be allowed to have one, and if they require any person to surrender their firearm who wouldn't normally be required to surrender the firearm because they're competent to have it, then that's illegal. And you can't make any laws that require those things. And this thing works back in time, which means that if this bill were to pass, any law that was previously passed would then become null and void. And then it goes on in Section B. So Section A tells us what it's going to encompass and what you cannot do, and that it's illegal. Section B is going to tell you what happens if any Commonwealth officer or executive order, administrative regulation, local ordinance, or court order unlawfully infringes on the right of the people to keep and bear arms in the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and Article 1, Section 13 of the Virginia Constitution, it is immediately void, and the citizen doesn't have to follow it. Part C tells us that it is the duty of the courts to recognize the rights of the people to keep and bear arms, as well as any law enforcement agency or political subdivision of the Commonwealth. This is saying, hey, You can't take away our Second Amendment rights, and you have to be okay with that. You have to understand that as a court official. You have to be able to uphold that. As a police officer, you have to uphold that. And then Part D gives property, and Part D and E speak to the fact that if someone does do that to you and it's under colorable law, which is fake law pretending to be real law, then that person, entity, or organization will be fined and liable for damages, including punitive remedies. This bill is huge. Now, here's the deal. Just like the next one we're getting ready to talk about, it has a low likelihood of passing, but that doesn't mean failure. What we need to do is make sure that this common sense reading of the Constitution and understanding of what it protects is brought to light on those that wish to deny it, the Democrats that want to eviscerate this. We need to hold them accountable. They need to be seen the light of day, and all of their splendor needs to be placed out there on social media so that they won't get elected next year. But we've got the advantage of time on this bill and the next one. If we do something about this now, I suggest getting in touch with our city councils that have already passed very similar sanctuary, but not as strongly worded, amendments and resolutions, and asking them to write letters to the Commonwealth and to the delegates in charge in the House Public Safety Committee for this to look at, and let them know that we support this so that we can go on record having them have an official reply. And that means we can hold their feet to the fire. They won't be able to slide this under the radar. Goodness, but time is of the essence. If we do nothing, nothing will happen. It is surely to fail, probably just by not even being taken up for a vote, just laid on the table. But if we put political pressure on it, we can help this pass. And even if it doesn't pass, we can help draw attention and make responsible those parties that wish it to fail. But don't even stop there. Let's head right on over to House Bill 934, firearms, certain possession, purchase, whatever. This bill title is stupid because what this is the Sanctuary City Teeth Bill. This bill says that any of the localities that have passed Sanctuary City movements and resolutions are enforceable with the full protection of the law of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it requires that no funding be withheld from any city, like Ralph Northam threatened, because of passing this law. This is huge. So one of the largest reasons that cities gave for not wanting to pass a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution was because the resolutions had no teeth. They were just a statement to Richmond. Well, the Attorney General, Mark Herring, also came out and said, hey, these resolutions have no teeth, counties. They have no enforceable law, and you'll do what I tell you to do. This bill is a slap in his face directly because it allows us, the people, to take back control of our localities. It allows the localities that have voted to have a sanctuary amendment completely make that sanctuary amendment have the full force of law. Guys, we need to get on this. This is extraordinarily important. I've heard comments down below from a couple of these when I've posted on Facebook and YouTube and everything that people don't support this. They say, oh, it'll never pass. Don't be a negative Sally. If you're so defeated, go hide under a rock. We need soldiers that are going to get out there and get this word out and help share. And I'd like to say this, although I've been in conversations with lots of you, and I might think that your negative attitude makes you negative Nancy's, we've had over 151 shares, and 20,000 people and 2,600 people have actually liked, clicked, or engaged in some other way. That means that you're in the minority here. Most of us recognize that these bills are required because of our current political landscape, where the Democrats are messing with it. They're doing that to these bills, but against them. We need something that will protect them. Continuing on along, if you haven't followed the Culpeper County events over here on Keep Va2A, on February 1st at 8:30 a.m., they are having a Second Amendment activist training. Go over here, pause it, find out the keepva2a.com, and just go to upcoming events. Learn how to be intelligent ninjas when you fight these people with debates of wit and reason. This is what will help you. So if you're the type of person that may have a hard time keeping your facts straight and everything, and how to argue about preserving the Second Amendment in Virginia, this is a great place to go and do it. I will be there. I will see you there. Speaking of keep Va2A, 2AC3 is a great place to go if you want to see what's going on. This is where the organization of the grassroots movement happens. Screw Facebook, screw YouTube, get off of there because this is not monitored by someone that's going to censor you. I've had my posts stricken, taken down, I've had my view count deleted, I've had all kinds of things happen. I've been censored on YouTube, and this is just for the past couple of months of putting this information out to you guys. I've had people unsubscribe from me, followers taken away, all that stuff. It won't happen here. However, becoming a part of 2AC3 does not mean you're joining 2AC3. 2AC3 is not an organization that's going to do anything for you directly. They don't have it's not like you're going up to the VCDL and becoming a member. Here, the 2AC3 is providing the platform where you can affect political change in your area. Go over here to become a local coordinator. Speak to that hashtag, tell Rob Sway that you want to become a coordinator in your area. There are areas all over the Commonwealth to become a coordinator and the United States. Click on a state, click over here on a city, and it'll drop down with your city or town or whatever, and you'll be able to begin chit-chatting. One thing I'd like to point out over here is this is a great place over at Keep Va2A News to come over here and upload media. If you've got a story for the Minuteman Report, let me know. This is another one. I want to talk about House Bill 1627. This is the bill that silences you. This is the anti-criticism bill. This is important. This takes away your First Amendment. They grabbed our Second Amendment. They're screwing it right now. They're getting ready to take the First Amendment. If you don't take away anything from this bill, take this particular part away. Harassment by a computer and penalty. It's 18.2-152.7:1. Any person with the intent to coerce, intimidate, or harass a person shall use a computer or a computer network to communicate obscene, whatever, or make a suggestion or proposal of an obscene nature or threaten any illegal or immoral act, is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. The violation of this section and jurisdiction with it can be tried anywhere, but will be resorted to the city of Richmond if the person or one of the people of that act is the governor-elect, lieutenant governor. Okay, so I'm reading this fast because it's so much information. I'm trying to get it out. Basically, if you criticize the governor, and in a way, the standard, if they feel the person, the target of your criticism, feels it to be harassing or coercing or intimidating in any way, that's the standard is set out right here, then you are guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. Specifically, if it's to the governor, governor-elect, lieutenant governor, or any of those people. The right of the people to freely criticize the government is a well-protected First Amendment right. This is crap all over it, and it's getting ready to happen. Okay? We need this bill to go away. Other parts of this bill deal with making threats of violence and such. Those things are already illegal. We don't need this bill. This bill adds the part about criticizing the governor, specifically with speech online. That will silence our voice. This YouTube channel and other YouTube channels will not be able to speak freely because it will be a Class 1 misdemeanor if the target of whoever they're speaking freely about feels it to be harassment or intimidating. That standard does not apply to our political leaders. We're able to criticize them in almost any way possible as long as whatever we're saying is inflammatory, maybe, but not a call to action. Okay? You can't call to action, but you can say pretty much anything else. Even if someone else acts on your inflammatory comment, unless you are organizing directly an action to happen, your speech is protected under the First Amendment, specifically when addressing political figures. This bill right here, 1627, aims to silence you. Guys, we cannot allow that to happen. Moving on over, I want to remind you something. I want to remind you of something strong. Okay? Lots of you guys that eat rocks out there, and I'm with you. I eat rocks too. Okay? Lots of you guys that want to boogaloo it, forget a bunch of things. But this is where you get the authority to boogaloo. So stop eating rocks for a minute, put them down. And this is where you can quote when someone wants to argue with you about boogaloo. Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, Section 3, government instituted for common benefit. This is the Virginia Constitution, patriots. Think about it. The government is, or ought to be, instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community. Of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectually served against the danger of maladministration. And whenever the government shall be found inadequate or contrary to those purposes, a majority of the community has an inalienable and indefensible right to reform, alter, or abolish it in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. Now, I've talked about this before. Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, Section 3, tells us when to act as citizens, tells us what to look for, and we're in the middle of that right now. So that's an important part. You want to keep that in mind as you're moving forward. Okay, friends, I want to bring it back to this picture right here, the title card for today. Danger, Democrat tyranny in progress. We are in the middle of it right now, and we will not get out of it without your concerted pressure, political pressure. We need it now. Please contact your delegates, contact the people in your city council, and let them know that you want these bills passed. It's a tough road, but we can get ahead. I'm Robert Ham with Virginia Second Amendment News. I'm reporting for your rights. Thank you for watching.